Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya 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 Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. You want to play? Jaya Goranitai, 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 Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai, 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 Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Goranita, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol. Guru Pranandi. All glories. All glories. Okay, Hare Krishna, very welcome. Mataji, come close. Bring your chair here. Mataji, please come close. I have one spare Bhagavad Gita. There are no more Bhagavad Gitas here, no? Anyway, take this one, Mataji, because we all want to read the verse together. Today we are reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 19. No? Okay. You share the book. Chapter 15, verse 19. Okay, you have it on your phone? You have it on your phone? Great. Very good. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm going to read the verse and you please repeat after me. Yo mam evam asamutho. Yo mam evam asamutho. Janati purushottamam. Sasarvavid bhajati mam. Sarva bhavena Bharata. Yo mamevam asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vitpajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Yo mamevam asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vitpajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Thank you very much. Would anybody like to recite and we repeat? Yes, 1590. Yo mam evam asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vitvajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. You read it by heart? You read it by heart? Wow, amazing. Please do, yes. Yo mam eva masamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Thank you, Mataji. You almost read it by heart also. Okay. Prabhu, you would like to read? Yo mam eva ma asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Very nice. Thank you. Mataji, you read please. Yo mam evam asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Please read. Yo mam evam asamutho janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Very good, thank you. You don't have the book, no? Do you know it?
Which chapter?
It's chapter 15, 15, verse 19. Thank you. Come close, come close. Yo mam evam asamutho janati purushottamam sa sarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you. Would you like to read? No, the same one. Yo mamevam asamutho janati purushottamam sarsarva vidbhajayati mam Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Thank you. Excellent. Would you like to read? Huh?
I'm not sure my pronunciation was
That's
very
fine,
good.
that's fine. Try.
Yo mami prashama janata prasatamam.
The first one, Yo Mam. Just one line by one line.
Just the first line.
Mm-hmm.
Yo mam ivam shamam
Mud. Yo Mam Evam Asamutho.
jananti purusotamam
Janati Purushotamam.
sasava vid bahajati mam
Sasarva Vid Bhajati Mam.
savava vina baharata.
Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Thank you very much. Thank you for trying. Okay. Oh, you want to read? Okay. Yo Mam Evam Asamutho. Janati Purushottamam. Sasarva Vid Bhajati Mam. Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Excellent. Thank you, Jaya. You want to do? Yeah? Go ahead. Yo Mam Evam Asamutho. Janati Purushottamam. Sasarva Vid Bhajati Mam. Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yeah? Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So I read word by word and please also repeat. Ya, anyone who. Mam, me. Evam, thus. Asamutha, without a doubt. Janati, there will be arti at 7 o'clock. Okay. Mataji, there is arti at 7 o'clock if you want to come back. Janati, knows. Purusha Uttamam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sa, he. Sarvavit, the knower of everything. Bhajati, renders devotional service. Mam, unto me. Sarva Bhavena, in all respects. Bharata, O son of Bharata. Translation. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Please repeat. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Purport. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth. But the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. And still, there are so many stubborn commentators on the Bhagavad Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Hear from this source. Simply to hear, I missed one line. Here Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word bhajati is very significant. In many places, the word bhajati is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that one has to surrender there, all his speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Okay, we're going to just do a prayer. If you can, do it with me together. It's in the beginning of the at the introduction you can find it. But if not, it's okay. We just listen. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostete Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yo Mam Asamutho Janati Purushottamam Sasarvavid Bhajati Mam Sarvabhavena Bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Okay, well, I just read the next verse. We're not going into the next verse, but it's very important because the next verse actually gives us information about today's verse. The next verse says, "This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection." So whoever understands what? Whoever understands this today's verse, which says, if you know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if you have no doubt about it, we don't try to speculate, maybe this, maybe that. We are certain that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, here Krishna says, is the knower of everything. So then we know everything. And he therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me. So, and Prabhupada, in the purport, he starts the purport by saying, there are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. What is a speculation? Do you know what does a speculation mean? Yes, that is one of the doubts, but the word speculation is that we try to guess, we try to make assumptions, we try to just think, use our own brain to understand things, which is fine, we need to use our brain, but later Prabhupada in the purport explains that it's very important to hear from the authority. There are certain things that there are different ways of knowing things, right? And each of them has certain limit. We know things firstly by our own senses, yeah? And then we know things by logic, yes, which is above just the senses. We can use our logic, our reasons to understand things. But there's another level above that, which is, by hearing from authority, by hearing from those who know it, from those who either by experience, by knowledge, who've been through it. And this applies to all the subjects. If you want to be a doctor, you also need to hear from, your master, from your superiors. Anything we need to know. Our senses gives us some information, our logic and reasons gives us more information, but above that, we need to hear from those who know. But here Prabhupada says there are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of living entities and the supreme absolute truth. We try to figure out by our own limited abilities that who am I and who is God, right? And to a certain extent, still there are people who don't even understand that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. But Bhagavad Gita, the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita is that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. But then above that we are small soul, right? And there is the supreme soul. And then also teaches us about the relationship between the small soul, us as living entities, and the supreme soul. But later Prabhupada explains how by a speculation, people are get the wrong idea. They are misled and they mislead other people as well. In this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. So basically, Prabhupada is telling us Radha Gokulananda ki jaya, Dakshinamurti ki jaya, Govinda ki jaya. So Prabhupada is here just repeating the verse, but in his own words. He says that here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, tells us that if we know that Krishna is the Supreme Person, then we know everything. So all we need to know and believe and be certain about it, that Krishna is the Lord. He's a person, and he's the head of all the persons, right? But why we think it's obvious, huh? But why there's so much emphasis of it? Not just here, throughout Bhagavad Gita, because Prabhupada says there are many philosophical speculators who think otherwise, right? He says, the imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So he is the imperfect knower. Well, we all are imperfect. We don't know everything, right? But you've heard about the book Perfection of Yoga, yes? But, Prabhupada says that, if we know that Bhakti Yoga, what is Bhakti Yoga? Devotional service. If we know about that, then that is perfection, and we do devotional service to the Lord, and because he is the Supreme Person, that is perfection. That is, he says that, it's like we've read all the Vedas, we know all the Vedas. So if you don't know that, and then that would be imperfect knower. But the perfect knower, Prabhupada says, he doesn't waste his time trying to, he's basically referring to Jnani yogis and other, yoga practices like Dhyana yoga, Astanga yoga, Hatha yoga, they're all transcendentalists who are looking for the truth, right? But Prabhupada, in the introduction, he refers to that there are three classes of transcendentalists, namely Jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas, or the impersonalists, the meditators, and the devotees. So here Prabhupada is referring to them, that he basically says, please don't waste your time. Just come to bhakti, do devotional service, and all the rest is covered. You will understand the philosophy. You will be able, to control your senses. Because Krishna helps. When we serve Krishna, then he helps us. By our own endeavor, we have limited ability. All the jnanis and yogis, they try to understand the truth by their own endeavor. And they can improve, they can advance to a certain level, but there is a time that their ability kind of, finishes. Prabhupada gives the analogy of the monkey's child and the cat's child. The cat carries his kitten in the mouth, so the kitten is safe, is certain that the mother can hold him. But the monkey holds to the mother body by his own strength. And there is a time that he, because he's tiny, he's a baby, his strength is finished. So Prabhupada say, Bhakti Yoga is, we're serving the Lord, and then when the Lord is pleased with us, then he carries us. Wherever, what do you say? He says, I carry whatever you have, and I'll preserve whatever you have, and I'll give you whatever you don't have. So throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. Which fact? About devotional service. That bhakti, devotional service, is the perfection of yoga. Bhagavad Gita, starts by, explaining us that we're not this body, we're a spirit soul, and then explains about karma yoga, then explains about, dhyana yoga, and then jnana yoga, all that. He explains all this, but throughout, Krishna, and especially Prabhupada, verse after verse, chapter after chapter, he ends up saying that, well, okay, you heard all this, that's wonderful, but, devotional service, is the perfection of all the other yogas. So throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed, and still there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Another fact that it is stressed, which concludes, brings us to the fact about devotional service, is that, okay, we are this body, we are a spirit soul, but we are subordinate to the Supreme Lord, right? And our relationship, with the Supreme Soul is to serve him. So Prabhupada is saying that throughout Bhagavad Gita, this is stressed, but still there are speculators, those who even read Bhagavad Gita, but they still, what do they conclude? They conclude that living entities are the same as the Supreme Lord. Okay, we may think that, it's really strange if they come to that conclusion, but that's why Prabhupada wrote, the whole Bhagavad Gita, the whole purport Bhagavad Gita, because there were so many other commentations on Bhagavad Gita which had a different conclusion. And Prabhupada says again in the introduction, he says, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. one should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Why Prabhupada says that? Because there are people who say that. They say, okay, Krishna was a great person, but he was not God. He was a great personality. And some even say, he was ordinary person. Lord Sri Krishna, here Prabhupada says, is the supreme personality of Godhead. So, according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. And with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. So Prabhupada says, even if we still have doubts, but read Bhagavad Gita, at least theoretically, accept that Krishna is the supreme Godhead, then you will be able to understand about what he's saying about the devotional service. But what people do, most people, he says that we have to have this submissive attitude. Submissive attitude is not like, okay, whatever you say is right, whatever you say. It's not like that. It's that we accept that we don't know. We want to know. But what people normally do, they have some idea themselves, and they said, okay, Bhagavad Gita is a great book. Let me read Bhagavad Gita, see if Bhagavad Gita agrees with me. Right? And they find verses, they pick and choose verses which approves, what theory they already have. So that is not a submissive way. Submissive is, okay, I don't know, who is God. I don't even know who I am. Right? What to speak of the Supreme. So with that attitude, Prabhupada is suggesting we read Bhagavad Gita, then we will be able to understand the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's go a bit quick here. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. So, Bhagavad Gita, in itself, it has 700 verses, right? Krishna spoke those verses in half an hour, 1 hour, to Arjuna. And if we only read the verses, maybe, we could finish it, in 2 or 3 hours, right? But, we can misunderstand, right? So it's important to hear directly, what Krishna says, the verses, but also it's very important to understand and try to understand and read the purports of Krishna's pure devotees. These are the authorities, Krishna and his representatives. There are many scholars, academic scholars in big universities. They know Bhagavad Gita inside out, all the verses, all the words, the Sanskrit, all the details, but they don't understand the spirit of Bhagavad Gita because, they don't hear it from Krishna's representative. And then, so continues talking about this submissive attitude to hear Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Prabhupada says, if you are able to understand properly the Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says, and we know what is the purpose of the Vedas, then we know all the Vedas. We don't need to read the other books. And what is the purpose of the Vedas? Again, well, firstly, the actual, this chapter, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, if you go right to the beginning, there's always, for each chapter, there's a very short explanation. And for this chapter, it actually tells us what is the purpose of Vedic knowledge. Chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to detach oneself from the entanglement of the material world and to understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who understands Krishna's supreme identity surrenders unto him and engages in his devotional service. So who can tell me what is the purpose of the Vedas? According to this. I read again. Please listen carefully. Maybe you can repeat it in your own words. You don't have to, word, but I want to see how much you got the meaning of it. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to detach oneself from the entanglement of the material world. So this is one purpose, right? To be free from this material world and to understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is the purpose of the Vedas? Who wants to say?
Okay, the Vedas give vast knowledge of Vedic scriptures, but the main point is we are all entangled in this material world. The Vedas lesson is to get detached from this material world and to engage ourselves in the devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna and know that He is the Supreme Personality. We are only servants because we have a tendency to load in the material nature and we
Wow.
become Lord ourselves.
Very good, thank you. You said it, very nicely. You said that, well, that's why we are in this material world. We have the tendency to be the boss, right? Whether it's in the family, at work, in the college, anywhere, we want to be the boss. And also, this is individually, but the whole human being, we want to control the material nature, right? That's why we try, all different, things, manipulating material nature, because we want to be in control. But we need to understand that there is the supreme boss, and that is Krishna, and we are his servant, and our duty is to serve him. And in this way, then we will be free from all the bondage of material world. This is the purpose of the Vedas. Right? And why there's so much emphasis of this, the purpose of the Vedas? Because, well, Vedas is huge, right? And in fact, 80% of the Vedas, is all about material world. It's all about, do this, be happy, do that, be happy, have this, all different yagyas, on the surface, it looks like, this is all for us to be happy in this material world, which is, if we follow, it does make us, relatively happy. But the hidden part of the Vedas, we miss it. The hidden part of it is that all of these yagyas, all of these sacrifices, all of these things is ultimately is for the Supreme Lord. Is ultimately for Vishnu, ultimately for Krishna. And if we offer whatever we do, any activities, we don't need to just give up everything and come to live in the temple. In life, in family life, in study, in job, in work, whatever we do, if we offer it to Krishna, that is the sacrifice. Then, Krishna is pleased, right? Then he helps us, to be free from the entanglement of the material world. That's the hidden, part of the Vedas, which Bhagavad Gita, and also another set of books, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. They uncover this hidden message of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita ends up with telling us, there's a famous verse that it says that Krishna is telling Krishna, okay, I've told you whatever you need to know. Now you must decide yourself, but surrender to me. He uses the word surrender. Surrender to me. Give up all the religions. All the religions means jnana, dhyana, ashtanga, all the things, all the different ways that people, Prabhupada says, trying hard people to understand the absolute truth, but life after life after life, it takes lives after life to come to the point of bhakti. So he says, okay, right now surrender unto me, right? But this is the end of Bhagavad Gita. But how to surrender and why to surrender to Krishna? Who is this Krishna that we want to surrender to? That is all explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm telling this just at the end of the class. I'm just giving this extra because it's a very special time now. It's a month of Bhadra, and on Saturday is the full moon of the month of Bhadra. It's called Bhadra Purnima. I'm sure you've heard about it. And it's a very special, that is when Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. And in Bhagavatam, in 12th canto, says if we gift Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne on the full moon of the month of Bhadra, then basically he said our ticket to spiritual world is guaranteed. It may sound too easy to be true, but it's the whole set of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 12 cantos printed in 18 volumes. It's a big gift if you want to give it to anybody. So it's a big sacrifice. And you don't even have to gift it to somebody else. You can gift it to yourself, to your own family, right? It's a spiritual investment that we do. Anything we buy in life, every few years, we have to renew our mobile phones, right? And how much do you pay for that, right? Hare Krishna, thank you very much. But this Srimad Bhagavatam, the set of Srimad Bhagavatam, 18 volumes, it's only 175 pounds. It's actually presented on the table outside at reception. You can have a look. And it's a lifetime. You don't need to renew it. You buy one set, you have it for life, but also it is a spirit. It's an investment. You get a lot back from it, both materially and spiritually. But it is a spiritual investment. It is what is the difference between material and spiritual? Material is temporary, spiritual is permanent, eternal. So it's an eternal investment you do for yourself, for your own family, for everybody around you. So please consider that. In fact, as I said, Srimad Bhagavatam is like the continuation of Bhagavad Gita. And evenings we read Bhagavad Gita, but in the morning, every day, we read Srimad Bhagavatam. But if you have the books in your house, just the books itself, having them physically in your house, it's so auspicious. It changes the whole atmosphere of the house. What to speak of opening it and reading it. Bhagavatam is no different than Krishna himself. Each canto of Srimad Bhagavatam represents different limbs of Krishna's body. So when you have Bhagavatam, you can actually put it in the altar and worship. You can do puja for it, but you can worship it by reading it every day, just few pages with your family. Get together, just half an hour, read few pages. You've done your spiritual duty, right? Talking about Krishna, and your material duty, spending time with your family. Both in one go, right? It couldn't be better than that, right? So, and it encourages your family, your children, and it's so effective that it appeals to any generation, children, parents, grandparents. It gives us the material knowledge, it gives us the spiritual knowledge, and it gives us all the culture, all the things that you all grew up with, and you want to pass it on to your own children. But sometimes we kind of hear, auntie says something, uncle says something, grandpa says something, we get confused, children get confused, they ask questions, we don't know the answers. So everything, the original of all the culture, of all the knowledge, everything is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So when you, after the arti, when you leave, please have a look. There's a table at reception. The books are presented there. You can have a look, and later on you can actually get the box, the whole set in a box for only 175 pounds. It's 18 volumes, so it's less than 10 pounds for each book. So you couldn't get better than that. So thank you very much for listening. Bhagavad Gita ki jaya, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jaya.